Well, here I am with two of the full leaders in the gloried past of this men's work opportunity called the Mankind Project, Dene Maria Sebastiana and Snake Bloomstrand, who in the early days of the project were leaders back in the 90s and such. And I want to talk about presence today. I posted something on the MKP coaching Facebook group page around the early levels of persona. When I was at Yale, I was competing all the time to be the smartest guy in the room. I even had the pipe and the tweed jacket, and I was trying my best to appear to be what an Ivy Leaguer was like, and failing miserably, of course. And then in the middle of my life, I was busy trying to save the world and feeling superior to people. And because I was on television, I had a chance to give this impression that I was there for others. It's never been anything true, except I'm here for myself and trying to figure out the best way I can to be happy and safe. And so I put a persona on there of the healer, and I just ran into some of my yoga people from the years where I had a yoga place here. It was valuable to the world, but it wasn't me. It certainly wasn't authentic. And then there's the later piece where I got to where I was resentful. I'd taken on this crazy idea that I was supposed to save the world. And I also had been kicked enough by life that I put this angry underneath and stayed all friendly on the outside. But underneath there was a seething, passive, aggressive resentment for the way life was not living up to my expectations. And at a certain point, I think I've broken. I'm out of options in terms of persona and feel as though I have nothing left to just tell the truth and go up in a situation and see what happens. And I want to get your ideas. Either of you men have experiences or are you touched by any of that story or how it might affect men and their lives in general?
Brings up a lot of memories for me. I think about the 20s and 30s where, for me, it was real important to know it all, to have the answers. And if I wasn't, I'd make it up. And there was a certain sense of feeling like and that fraudulent stuff undermined any action I could take in my life too. It was like at any moment, someone would lift the blanket and see, oh yeah, he's not who he says he is. I lived with that for a long time. Until men that I trusted stepped up around me and said, no, you got this. That I developed confidence in myself. And for them to point out, you've got a voice, you've got an intellect, you've got value beyond what you do. When those men stepped up and told me that, and they were men that I knew weren't bullshitting me, that helped me step more fully into my authentic, birthed me to a certain degree. I think we get one chance to be born of women and many chances to be born of men. And that was for me.
Beautiful. So, I think the mask and the personality and the persona, they're kind of given a bad rap. And I don't know that it's bad. I think that it's just inevitable. James Hillman wrote a marvelous book called A Force of Character. And he said that maybe that's the only thing that's real and unchanging in us is the character out of which we're born. And it's only a matter of time when a child is born being authentically who he is. And I notice in my two sons that how different each one of them is in their essential nature when they came down the chute and came into being, how different they were energetically. And it's held consistent. Hillman says the character peeks through the chinks in the mask. We get glimpses of ourselves and our true authenticity, but there's so much external force demanding us to be a certain way that we have no real choice other than to trade in our authenticity to be alive. If we don't listen to mom, we don't listen to dad, and they turn their back on us, we're fucking dead. So we have to make the trade. Hillman says, toward the end of our lives, when we give less and less a shit about what other people think of us, that the mask, we begin to let go of the mask. And that's why grandfathers and grandsons are such natural allies, because they're closer to the authentic being that they were when coming in and going out towards spirit. They're both closer allies in the authenticity of who they are. I see the men's work that we do and the way we've been able to identify so many of the shadows, which are just repressed parts of who we authentically are, from all the different layers that imprint on us, helping men recognize that. We don't have to wait until we're 80 or 90 to get to our authentic being. We begin to strip away with each other's support that says, I don't have to be in competition with you. I don't want to kill you. We can be in this circle and we can let our hair down, let our masks down, and see what in us arises. I think we're very wonderfully unique in that we can help men find their authentic place, that they can begin to see the distinction between what's authentic and what's persona a whole lot easier in doing the work that we do.
What do you men think is the edge that's required when men come to the work frequently because they sense that something, I've done everything I'm supposed to, I've made a success, I've done the family, I've done that, but there's something missing. There's this soul piece. What is your story about? What is it you're hoping men kind of get when they show up in men's work? What is it you're hoping that they learn?
It's I'll kind of come at that roundabout in that a 95-year-old uncle died, and a week ago I asked him, do you feel like an elder? And he looked back at me and he said, well, I didn't up until a month ago when I got He's 95 years old. And he
Could you speak up just a little bit?
To be an elder. Realize too how different our cultural definitions are. In his mind, elder meant infirm. In my mind, it meant something different. I've seen this around the world as I've worked too, is different cultures. Men both adhere to the individual culture, but are shaped to a certain. I think the whole finding authenticity isn't the mystery we make it to be. I think when you get to the end of a life and you look back, it's real clear. We're just not meant to see it that clearly in the age. It has somewhat of a life of its own. So to answer your question, some of the clients that I've worked with, many of them hit that question, is this it? They've raised a family, been successful, they're in their 50s, 60s, and it's like, that's it? Well, their definition, their cultural overlay, what they've always considered as value, begins to come into question. Mm-hmm. It all dovetails together. Makes that on a kind of a mirage and an ever-evolving beast.
Men, we've been given a checklist that tells us, from society's perspective, what constitutes success. Nobody asked us if we wanted to buy that program when we were little. They didn't ask me at 5, what would you like to be? And really even listened.
6-pack abs.
I want to be a millionaire. I want to run a corporation. I want to have a beautiful wife. I want to get laid 1,000 times before I get married. I mean, what do we really know that's authentically ours until we get to discover what isn't us? And we have no choice, again, but to buy the program and play out the program until one day we wake up and realize, wow, I've done everything the program tells me to do. Why am I still so fucking miserable? I think we come to authenticity out of necessity. Maybe there's something deep in the soul that awakens one day. I was 40 when I did the training, and I had a great epiphany. And I'm so blessed that I had this experience. But I've noticed men coming into the training, in the early days, Snake, they were older guys, 40s, 50s, 60s, broken, battered, heart attack, car accident, wife runs off with a woman, kid has drug issues, portfolio goes belly up. When the program gets interrupted by, I believe, soul forces, because soul forces hate being contained by programs of bullshit like this, and the soul steps in, and it has no morality, it has no boundaries of time and space. It's going to shatter our fucking illusions to get us to wake up. And we've learned how to hold the space for men coming apart. I think coming apart for me, because I'm right in the middle of coming apart in holding the space for my son, is the best thing that we can do. When I come apart, it means all the constructs, all the bullshit things that I tell myself about what constitutes success or who I think I should be because enough people are telling me that. All of that comes tumbling down. And there's nothing but me looking at me in the mirror saying, well, who the fuck are you now? And I think that's the gift we bring to men, is we help them dare to ask that question, who the fuck are you now?
And sitting in a circle of others who've asked the question, who can look at you with support and kind of an empathy, and give you space to actually risk saying it to yourself, myself. I'd like to hear you guys' impression of something. I'm working on an idea that it seems to me in my life, and it happened when I was visiting in Mexico recently, where I noticed if I was in any state that was uncomfortable, all I need to do is realign my centers. It eventually became something in the conversation, Dene, our conversation led to not only the alignment, but the examination of what each of the four major head, heart, belly, and balls said about a situation and the way I made decisions. But what I noticed, and very favorably, is almost all of the habit patterns that come from persona trying to get out there to be the way I want it to, manipulate it in some way with a smile or otherwise, go away when I align and just make that line of energy run through my body, bottom to up and bottom and top down. That puts me present and quiet, and I don't seem to have any of the stories going on. I'm not trying to get anything. I have everything from that position. Does that make sense in any way to you guys?
Yeah. I remember reading quite a number of years ago a book that had a passage in it that said, when they asked Confucius what he thought the secret of life was, he said, well, it's quite simple, to be true to yourself and to be good to others. Now, you just hear that. Of course, that makes perfect sense. If I could only be true to myself and be good to you, I would be living the secret of life. But having that happen in practice is a whole different animal. Because the truth is, if I'm true to me, I may not be good to you. And if I'm good to you, I may not be true to me. So persona is the part I think that dances because we're programmed to be good to other people.
get
Or
along.
we're programmed to just be so fucking true to ourselves that I'm going to get what I want no matter what. We're usually in the dichotomy of that rather than the paradox of dancing to both ends. Now, what I've discovered, and I'm not a kid anymore, so I don't suffer fools and my own foolishness very kindly. If I'm not true to myself first, I can't be good to you. Because if I'm good to you and not true to me, my deep knowing, my authenticity says, that's bullshit. So that alignment that you talked about, which is physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, all of those dimensions occupy space inside the head, the heart, the gut, and the sacs. To me, I use that as my vertical axis. Because if this and this and this and this are congruent, then my actions out towards the other are going to be congruent. I may not get what I'm looking for. It may piss somebody off, but I can bring my truth and the best way that I know how to share it with somebody. I may not give them what they want, but I'm going to be good in how I express what's true for me. So
I kind of operate according to a different model. I mean, I certainly don't disagree with alignment and have my own practice, but I like the wild edges. There are times where I wake up with so much anxiety and I try and get a rope on it and calm it down. And I've discovered over years that it's best to just go with that horse out into the meadow. And so alignment is one thing. Your ability, your volume to hold emotion is another.
mm-hmm.
In other words, it's not about managing my emotion as much as letting it all in and through, oftentimes as quickly as possible. If I wake up anxious, I'd rather spend the day that way. But I found that my capacity for emotion, joy, sadness, grief, has increased over.
Yes.
And as my volume has increased, my alignment becomes less of a challenge.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm not fighting it.
Yep.
I'm not fighting the emotion or trying to manage it.
I agree with you. I think that the container, the inner container that I think I'm hearing you describe, is in the strength of that inner container is born over precisely these kinds of awarenesses and experiences that you suggest here. There is great discombobulation on the inside, and unknowing and wildness and anger and all of that stuff that kind of makes us crazy. But I'm learning that when I act out from that place, I don't particularly like the outcomes.
Yeah.
Can I hold inside my container my own craziness when I wake up with a shit pot full of angst or a ton of grief in weeping for my powerlessness around my son, but I'm not gonna act out from those places. I've learned to hold my own struggle inside an increasingly strong container. And when I can't do that on my own, I ask for help. Because I can't do it on my own. I can't be that vigilant. I can't be that clean. I can't be that sharp. I just can't do it on my own.
Well, it's interesting because what we're bordering on right now, too, is the biggest unspoken objection to being involved in men's work. I used it myself. Well, if I uncork that bottle, I'll never get the cork in again. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
The fact is that cork comes in and out easily. It does throughout your life, no matter how much work you've done. But are you able to take that emotion, uncork that, and use it to serve your own good?
Mm-hmm.
That's the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I remember so well before going on that dumb weekend, and it was the last thing I wanted to do. I was pressured by friends, and my big hesitation was, damn, I don't want to open that bottle. I'll never get the cork back in. Felt like stepping into the abyss. And it wasn't.
Yep.
It wasn't anything unfamiliar.
Snake, how many times have you stood in front of a guy on the carpet and he has looked you in the eye and said, Snake, I'm afraid if I start to cry, I may never fucking stop. How many men have we seen come through our training and admit that? And yet we bear witness as a man drops into that abyss. And I think this is the gift that we give men. You don't go down there by yourself. You have to go down alone, but you don't go down by yourself. We've been there. We go there. We know that space. You won't drown. You won't die. Some part of you is going to die off, but you're going to come out with those scales of falseness shed and a new body of aliveness and realness that you can build upon. That ordeal that we have to go through, I don't think it's a one-shot deal. I think we got to keep doing it over and over and over again.
That's the joy of it, I believe. I'm really hardcore on this, but it's not all about rainbows and unicorns. Life sucks.
Au contraire.
Sometimes it's painful. And particularly in cases like that, it's good to have men around you that care for you.
Yeah.
You're able to say, you take that step, you're going to go head first into the wall. I'll be here to bandage you afterwards, but think about it before you do it. And stop willing to watch them run head first at the wall. Sometimes a man's just got to do that to feel the pain.
Yeah.
I wonder, one of the things I'm working at is I had to develop the persona, the whole personality cult of getting people to like me, because it was my job for a while. When I was on television, that was my job to do. And I now recognize that that's actually like the personas that many of us learn because of our original wounds, a really great source of my gold. And knowing when to use that persona is a very valuable thing. So, and Dene, I think you use your persona when I'm watching you teach on a weekend. I thought you were using persona as you did that. What is your take on when you use the personas that you had to develop as you grew up in life?
Well, when we step out, into a role like that, I'm the role of teacher. I bring my experience, I bring my knowledge, but I convey it through my own idiosyncrasies. There is a persona of what our face looks like, or what our hair looks like, or what our body looks like. We live inside the shell, and we cannot deny that. But to be awake, to notice the different hats that I play, the different roles that I step into, and what I like, and I'm going to be bold and say this, what I like about the dance that we had over the last couple of weeks is, we drank a little tequila, we imbibed in little ways that kind of let the rigidity of the persona begin to loosen. The tongue gets a little bit looser, the humor begins to crank up, and the realness of who we are in this delicious dance of loving each other and teasing each other. When I was a kid on the street, the way you showed love for each other is you tease them. If a guy isn't getting teased, he's not liked.
Yes, that's right.
So the humor that we have, we bust each other's balls, we make fun of each other, but the love that arises out of that, in that authentic dance of unmasking ourselves with each other, I find terrifically delicious.
What's your persona you like to use?
I grew up in a neighborhood that was pretty tough. You needed to keep your eyes open in order to keep from getting whacked. And so I became a shrewd observer. And for a long time, that kept me separate from other people. Up until my mid-30s. And then it shifted into a way that I could connect with people because I did pay attention. So I think some of the stuff we're talking about is a legacy, and it's a matter of aiming it and steering it in a direction that serves, generating something new. Repurposing maybe is a good word for that.
So one of the tenets of Man School is it's never over. We keep learning and growing, or learning and failing and getting back up and starting over again. And that this is an example. We've touched on this topic. It'll come back again, and there will be many more as we continue this work and as we do the work of coaching in the Mankind Project. So thank you again, beautiful men, and we look forward to producing another one of these videos for you very soon.